we can actually like unpack it a bit more bespoke for you and your business. Like you're getting a one-on-one session with me, which we don't really give out. But yeah, really, let's jump in. So this is the 70% success rate sales process. Now, for this to actually work, I want you to know that this doesn't work for people that aren't qualified. So what's a qualified lead? Someone that has the money or can get the money to afford your program, someone that has the problem you solve, and and they show up to the call. That's a qualified call. Okay.
Okay.
Qualified lead, qualified call. As long as they have that, we can go forward. So really what we do is we welcome them to the call. Hey, how you going? Thanks for jumping on.
Yep.
Then straight away you frame the session. So it's super important that you seize that frame of the call. A lot of people actually just say, hey, oh, how you going? Oh yeah. And then they just go off into these side conversations. How's your dog? How's your kid?
Right. I've done that. Yeah.
Right. So you need to
One
go,
thing that I've noticed about you, sorry to interrupt, is like you ask questions. Like you just asked me if it's okay if you share your screen.
yeah,
A lot of people, like you're the only one that I've observed that does that. And
yeah,
like the impact it has on me, like I observe when you ask it, like how I receive it, and then my response, it's like I'm more wanting to engage and like be absorbed into, okay, what's next? I'm like, you
yeah.
know,
And that makes you feel like you're more engaged in thinking what's next, right?
yeah,
Yeah. And when I feed back your answers to me, to you, that also helps you to decide deeper what you just kind of told me, right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So every
It's really good.
question, literally, man, everything you say should be like, it's like a statement or information, but there's a question on the end, right? Makes sense?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's it. I just did it. So like just notice as I do it,
I
it's
did,
like
I did, I did. I
exactly.
noticed it. Yeah,
So it's always like that because when someone says, yeah, I understand, that's when the information actually goes in.
exactly.
That's it. And it's really that. You're right. It's about engaged. You're very being engaged. You're very astute. So welcome to the call. Welcome them in, right? And then frame the session as them receiving value and solutions. Okay. So hey, thanks for coming to the call. This session is really just about talking about your answers to the booking questions, seeing where your knowledge gaps may be around achieving the success that you're wanting to achieve, and really just providing some solutions on how we could help. Does that sound good for you? That's also your first conditional close for the call. So it's like they know they're going to get sold, right? Unconsciously.
Yes.
Okay. So once they've done that, you've also taken frame. That's super important. You take the frame as early as possible, ideally within the first 10 seconds. And so you give an intro on why you're qualified to speak to them. So origin story.
Mm,
How did you come into this? So I started this
mm,
business. I just literally 10 seconds. I just say, so first 12 months, I made 75K. Second year, I made 100K. Third year, I made
mm.
250K. Fourth year, I made 500K per year. And that's why I'm qualified to speak to you today. That's literally what I say. Okay. And so then they say, oh yeah, wow, okay, he knows what he's talking about. um,
Mhm.
and so really for you it's just like finding out, okay, what is your relevant qualification to actually provide them guidance, right? Does it make sense?
Yeah, I'm following.
Okay, cool. And then the next thing is go through booking link questions, having them unpack their answers to you. Okay. So I'll just literally go through and then I'll just
Mhm.
go through and say, okay, so you said this to question one, is that correct? They'll say, yeah. You'll say, okay. Um, and then you'll just ask some questions about it. So if it's like a business related one, your business is currently at 5 to 10K per month. Yeah, okay. How long have you been operating for? Okay. And your goal is 100K per month. Okay, that's a pretty massive jump, isn't it? Okay. Um, like how long have you wanted that for? And then they're just like, oh, probably 2 years. You're like, okay, why do you feel like you don't have it yet? Right. So whatever their current state is, you say, okay, that's your current state. How long has that been your current state for? Oh, okay. And then this is your desired state. Like, how long has that been what you wanted for? Okay. And so why do you feel like you maybe don't have that yet? Like, what's been preventing you? And they'll tell
Right.
you. And then that's what you're solving. That's literally what you base your whole pitch on. Is like, that's what we're solving.
Uh,
That's it.
okay.
That simple. And like, what you say is, okay, so that's what's preventing you. Is that right? They're like, yeah. You say, okay. Um, like, can you just unpack that a bit for me? That's all I do. And then they just like, will unpack it. You just want them to talk about it. You're taking notes down. And the way that we take the notes down is we pretty much, wait,
Whoa.
it's a wobbly one.
What is this?
This is lucid chart.
This
This is unpacking your ideas.
Lucid Shot? No, the thing that you're using, like the app or whatever it is, the
Yeah,
software.
this is called lucid chart, lucid app.
Is this going to be shared? This chart, the graph?
I can share it if you want.
Yes, please.
So we've got the current situation. This is the note-taking structure that I use, right? So you've got the current situation, the goals, and the obstacles. So while they're telling me their answers, I'm literally just taking notes. And then, so I'm just like, okay, been going for 1 year to trying to solve the issue. Haven't solved it because of X. Y is also a problem. And then I'll say like, we solved it by doing Z. Okay, and then haven't solved it because of X. We solved it by doing like Q. So you just kind of like, as you take the notes down of their obstacles, you also take down, okay, how do I solve this? Because I'm going to run them through it when I run them through the offer. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing is like, okay, we just go through all the questions. So I say, cool, like for a business niche, it's a bit different. I'm like, okay, what is your niche, your offer, and your value ladder and your pricing? And I'm going to get into all of that. I'm going to say, do you have service market fit? Okay, cool. And I'm just looking for, how does my offer fit in? Like, how does my offer, where's the value that they can get by working with me, right? That's what I'm doing through this. I'm just really, doesn't matter what niche you're serving, you always will be just doing this. You're finding out, okay, what information can I extract based on these question answers? And how can I find out where my offer can provide value? Like, what are the main things? And like, they're going to talk to you about quite a few things, and you're going to really find like quite a few leverage points, but it's going to be like one thing or two things max that are going to be the reason why they choose to work with you now. That's like, you're going to find the one or two things, and you'll know that based on their physiological response once they talk to you about it. Ah, yeah, it's really that. That is the thing that I think you can help me with. When they start giving you this, it's called buying signs. So they're starting to give you buying signs where they're like, oh, yeah, you can really help me with that. Oh, can you tell me more about how this will work? Right.
I
So,
see.
right, what I'll do is I'll run them through how working with us step by step links to these, solving these issues, these obstacles. And then I'll ask confirmation that each step makes sense, right? Does it make sense? Uh-huh. And then I'll go through the whole thing, and then I'll explain the whole thing again. So what I'll do is I'll go like, okay, cool. So the first thing we do, so you have this issue with, you're not sure about your niche. So the first thing we do is actually solve that, because until we solve that, nothing else can be really worked on. Like if we help you get better at sales, or we help you get better appointments set in, doesn't matter unless we have niche clarity, because your offer won't actually make sense because it's, the niche isn't clear. So we get clear on that. Is that clear?
Mhm.
Then I'll say, yeah, that's clear. You say, okay, now we're going to have a good offer set up as well. We're going to get clear on your value proposition and your marketing message. If we were to give you an offer to help your offer's value proposition, would that be a good offer to consider? Okay. And they'll say yes. And then you're going to be like, okay, great. So we've got clear on the audience and the offer. Does that make sense? So that's one step. And so what you want to understand is like, through having calls, you get clear on what the steps are, and you say, And I know that you said, yeah, so your audience wasn't clear, but does it make sense how we get it clear? Okay, cool. Your offer, does it make sense? You haven't been having consistent sales. Does it make sense how we would reposition that to get you better sales? Okay, great. And then the next thing. And so you just have to be aware of what are the steps required to get someone the result. So for yours, if we look at yours, like we can easily use yours as an example. So you're just going to say, okay, like you can see that first, in order for you to really learn how to express your voice, and really like let go of this fear of rejection, first we need to make sure we've got clear on what are those past events that you're holding emotion limiting decisions on. Does it make sense that if we were to remove those specific limiting decisions you told me about, that would help your confidence? Okay, great. Is there anything else that we need to cover to get your confidence sky high? Anything in your life in terms of people, places, or things that are preventing that or reinforcing a negative identity? Okay, if we take care of that, will then your confidence be sky high? Okay, cool. So now will your confidence be at the level it needs to be? Okay, great. And then you move forward. After that confidence, okay? So there's the fear of rejection. So the confidence, we're going to get those past events for the fear of rejection. We're going to make sure that you use the living association paradigm, so that you can actually associate into a part of you beneath the fear of rejection. If we were to do that, can you understand how that would actually make a big difference in solving this fear of rejection? What else would we need to cover to get rid of that entirely? Like, where else do you have this fear of rejection that we need to set up boundaries or actually remove limiting decisions? So you tie down everything, Jordan. Like, you tie down every single thing. You're like, okay, now the next thing you mentioned before is like you have this comparison and you feel uncomfortable in your own identity. So what we need to find out is those past parts of you that you have really not, like, you're comparing yourself to other people outside. Who are those people? And understanding that you secretly wish to be them. So why don't we actually let go of that need and that fear to be them so you can actually be yourself? And what do we need to do to make that happen? What are those past experiences, limiting decisions, emotions, people outside that we can network with so you can actually start to connect with them? Because connection destroys comparison, right? So I'm just like spitballing here, but as I have a lot of these calls, I'll understand how to actually put flesh onto the bones of these value points and how I can connect them with their needs. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear how I'm doing
Yeah.
it. But that's kind of like what you do. You just work through it step by step. And then when you get through it all once, you say, cool, is there anything else that you feel we need to cover in order for you to get complete resolution on these issues that you're talking about today? So that would make it worth it to go all in on this and actually make this happen today. They say, oh, da, 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 and you get to unearth the objections and you start to reframe them. Okay. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you go through that. And this note taking happens like through all of the process. There's just like constantly you're taking notes always, like as you talk. So then after you do that, you just explain the whole thing. Now you start getting buying signs. So there's like buying signs that you get, and I'll just put the buying signs here. Now the buying signs really are the buying signs are questions about specific parts of your process. Buying signs are the cost. People get afraid sometimes. Oh, they're asking the cost. Da, da, da. That's actually a good thing because they're considering buying it.
When they ask for the cost, yeah.
They're considering buying it. So if they're asking for the cost, you say, I'm very glad that you're considering it may be a good solution for you. That's a really good sign. Is it just the cost? Is the cost the only factor to consider? Or is there other things? Because if there are other things to consider, there's no point in talking about details until we actually understand those things, right?
Oh, you ask that before you give them the
Of
price.
course, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything other than
Then the
the
cost that
cost?
needs to be considered today. Because if we talk
Right.
about the cost or the details before we've got clear on that, there's no point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And then I would also say, okay, before I
Yes.
talk about the details, I need to know that, are you really excited about this? And can you see this solving your problems? Because unless you've got to that point, there's no point talking about the details.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's it, like da da da. So and then if they're really set, just give me the cost. You're like, okay, here's the cost. It doesn't matter, whatever. But so they start asking how much it costs. And yeah, they're asking questions about hearing more. And then if they're interested in that, then you show them the offer in a Google Doc, or like a Lucid chart. You could have it on a Lucid chart or a Google Doc. I've had both and both work fine. Okay, so you show them, cool. But if you haven't got buy-in at this stage, then what you need to do, if haven't got buy-in, I might put this here actually. If haven't got buy-in, then what you need to do is you got to go here. How do we get this little thing? Okay, if you haven't got buy-in, then what you need to go through is you need to understand that if they're not like really excited, they're not looking at you, they're not like, wow, this is really cool, then you got to understand that there's only three things. It's they're working with someone else, and they think that that's the reason why they shouldn't go forward with you, or they're afraid of the price, or they've invested before and it didn't work. So they're working with someone else, or they're afraid of the price, or they've invested before and it didn't work. Okay, all you need to do is go through the 3 Ps: product, person, price, and you make sure that you have buy-in on all of those 3 Ps. They're the 3 pillars: product, person, or price. So I ask, like, do you feel confident about the product creating you success? They say yes. You say, do you feel confident about me creating success with you? Okay, yes. And so it's just the price, is that correct? They say yes. Okay, cool. And so what you do is you do that, and then you pretty much ask them, like, you can do this now. If you haven't got buy-in, you should do this. If you haven't got buy-in, also what you can do is you ask, okay, cool, you working with anyone else on this problem? Okay, cool. What's the solution they're providing to you? And then what you do then is you say, okay, here's how we're different. And what you want to do ultimately is say how you solve more of their problems and all of your problems, and how it will be cheaper to come with just you rather than them working with that person, have to go with so many other people, and how it would be better to just work with one person. And that's what you do. And if they're working with someone else, okay, let's make sure we're getting this down. It's probably better to put it in here.
And it didn't work.
Yeah, and it didn't work. Or they're afraid of the price. Okay. So all you have to do is yeah, you could go through the 3 Ps, but really all you could do is you could say, what problems are the other providers solving, and how do you solve the problem faster with less energy commitment? So that's the answer to I. Okay, and then the answer to II is, how is your service different and solves their issues differently? That's literally the answer to II. And then the answer to I is
I was wondering how you're gonna say the third one.
triple I. Or the answer to triple I is literally, you just say, if we were to find a payment plan that made sense and didn't break the bank, would you be open to speaking further? That's it. Because then you've got that, they're like, yeah, of course I would. Okay. Or if they say no, you say, okay, then there's no point talking. But you don't really have people that say that.
Yeah, I 3 eyes is a no-brainer.
Yeah, because
It's a
like you can
no-brainer.
afford a cheeseburger, right? But you're not gonna do a $2 deposit. But like,
Yeah, I yeah.
it's kind of like, come on, let's be serious. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And then all you do is you like the answer to all of these. Then reframe and tell a metaphor on to disarm the objection. Okay.
Okay.
That's all. You just reframe, tell a metaphor. You can see how there's things from one of our past mentors in this, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so you say how your service is different and solves their issues differently. It's kind of like the opposite. You say, okay, so you've worked with someone else. Okay, I can see how here's how it's different and it solves your issues differently. It's kind of like you were taking a rowing boat and you were trying to travel across the world when really what we are going to be having is like you're going to use a speedboat or a helicopter. Okay, so that's the metaphor. And then you would say like, hey, you've invested oh, you're working with someone else. Yeah, so that's the speedboat analogy. You've invested before and it didn't work. Okay, it's kind of like, have you ever had a certain understanding around something in life, and then once you made some failures, you actually then learn how to make it successul? Okay, this is the
Yep.
same. Okay, and then afraid of the price, you say, yeah, if we were to find a payment plan that made sense, would you be open to speaking further? Yeah, okay, I don't want it to be like we're robbing the bank, or I don't want it to be like we're breaking the bank. I want to make sure this makes sense for you. Okay,
Right.
so that's pretty much it. Like it's just really soft. So once you've got clear on that, you've got buy-in. Boom. Okay, and then you show them the offer doc. um so just before yeah, when you show them the offer doc, actually the one thing you would do after this is then run through the process of getting results with your service. That's what you do now. Okay, so you give them a full run through. You clarify it makes sense at every step.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And then what you do is you go back.
Mm.
Okay, and so yeah, you just go through that. 90% of people will have buy-in, and you really like you're going through. If they already had buy-in, you don't need to do any of this. Like if you're getting buying signs, you don't need to go through any of this. But I always do it. I just have the same thing every single time. I just always go through the same process. So I might just leave it as that. And so you run through the whole process while you have the offer document open. You kind of like ask, I would say like you ask to share your screen to go through the offer. And then you run through the process of getting
Mm.
that's it. Okay.
Yeah, you just don't want to jump in to share the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they're not super excited, like I won't even share the screen. So you want to get buy-in before you ever share
Yeah.
the screen. And you say like,
Do you mean the signs of buy-in? Like they're showing all the signs?
correct. They got to show the signs. If not excited, then ask, are you yeah, does this process look like it can get you the results you're looking for? Are you excited about this? Because if not, there's not any point in talking about details yet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they, you know, if they're good, then you just go forward. Okay. But if they're not excited, you have to clarify that. Alrighty. If as long as they're excited, then proceed. If they're not, there's still a limiting decision that hasn't been broken. So I'll go back and find it. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll jump over here. If not, there is a limiting belief that hasn't been broken.
Yeah.
You know, you've experienced this before where someone
Mm-hmm.
is like, yeah, sure, like, yeah, just show me what you've got. And then, you know, you show them, you walk through the whole thing, and then they actually say, no, I don't think so, or they throw up something. So this process will actually make it so that nothing gets thrown up. And that's really, really, really useful. So if there's a limiting decision that hasn't been broken, then what you'll do is you'll go back. Oh, is actually you won't go back. You'll just run through the process. That's it, of getting results with your service. What you'll do is you'll get confirmation every step makes sense and that, yeah, to them. That's it. And then literally like that's pretty much it. What I might do is actually I'll put this up here. And then what you would do is you would put this one just up here.
Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, you just get confirmation. And so like you really, if you're still noticing like that they're not fully bought in, you'll just literally speak to them. You'll say, speak to the lack of buy-in. You just say, look, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling that you really like you can see that this is the right solution for you. Can you just speak to
Mm-hmm.
me a bit about like, do you feel like this is the right solution for you? Can we be completely honest? Because I would only want you to
Yeah.
actually go forward with a solution that you feel good with, so that we can make sure that we're spending our time with the right people, and so are you. And I'll just like speak clearly about it, and then you'll say like, so what is it? What's going on? What's up? What do we need to talk about before we go forward? Right? Because if you try and proceed without doing this, you're just going to hit up against like objections, and
Yep.
they'll like smoke screen you to not make a decision.
Oh yeah.
And you just be honest. Look, man,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not feeling it. I don't feel your energy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't seem engaged.
Call them
Like,
out.
you mentioned already you want this result, like this is something that's important to you. If you find the right payment plan, the right decision, this is good. So like I want to just like say like is this truly something that is important enough? And like if you didn't get this in the next 15 years, like what would life be like? What would
That's
it
a
be like?
very
Like
good question
that
to
you
ask.
can say like does this even matter? Like because I've already got the result, but like the reason we're talking is because you mentioned it was important to you. Like it's okay with me, but like is it important to you? And they'll say yes, it is really important. And so you've got them engaged, but you've got to have them engaged. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then get them engaged. If they're not engaged, like just feel like, look, man, I don't think this is the right fit, but thanks for jumping on. And then you just like end the call. There's no point in talking to someone that's not engaged. But that's pretty good. And yeah, usually the lack of buy-in is really going to come from one of these three. It's really just like it's
Where?
really,
Which
the,
ones?
the lack of buy-in. It's always one of these three. So
Oh,
If
Uh-huh.
they're not bought in, you'll say, so you're working with someone else on this or not? Okay. Have you invested in something before and it didn't work? Are you afraid of the price? Which also means like they they don't get invested because they think they can't afford it. They think they can't afford it. So what you say is like, cool, like you know that if we come up with the right payment plan, like you'd be open to talking more about that. Okay, cool. And then you can move forward. Okay. And then you
Mhm.
say like, what you do after that is you just like walk them through the offer, explain like everything, literally do that again. So I do this like
Mhm.
3 or 4 times before I get to the price, because they have to know exactly how it will work before they get to the price. This is most people, but I do this with everyone. And so what you do is you run them through the process with your, like what it will be like with your service, and you explain what the expectations are.
Mhm.
So like what you do is you go through, okay, so you'll need to take action. That's like the first thing. And then what you do is you'll need to show up to sessions,
Yeah.
complete the tasking. Some people think, oh no, this would like turn people off. Actually, this makes people more committed, because you get them committed and you say like, you commit to taking action, great. You commit to coming to the session, doing the tasking, great. Then the third thing is like um, additional costs. So go through any additional costs, if there are any involved outside of your program costs, and responsibility for results versus lack of results. So you got to tell everybody,
So,
yeah,
additional costs, like, could you give an example of
yeah.
that?
So for us, there's like go high level. There's the outreach specialist.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a couple of different things. So
Okay.
um, you'll just need to go through that with them, right? So then you go through responsibility for results versus lack of results. So you say, look, man, like you can completely understand, like if you don't take responsibility for results, you're probably not going to get them, right? So do you take responsibility for getting results? They say yes. So not only
Yeah.
have you clarified their engagement in the program, you're also actually getting them more committed, like so they're higher likelihood of paying, like and not bringing an objection. Does it make sense?
Hmm.
Okay, and like once you've done this, it's pretty simple. Like all you do is go through the fees. Okay, so it's like um, go through um, the offers. Okay, establish which they feel would be best for them. This is before the price. Then go through the offers price, pay in full, or payment plan. Okay. Welcome, Ben. Um, and you say like, cool, like, so you feel like
Hey,
this offer
Ben.
would be best, and then they say, yeah. You say, cool, would pay in, here's the pay in full amount, here's the payment plan, which one do you think would be best for you? They tell you, okay. And then like confirm deposit if required. Okay, so you're going for the pay in full amount. Okay, cool, we'll just settle that. Or it's the payment plan, cool, so this is the deposit and this is the payment plan, and that's if it's a payment plan. And then all it is like confirm, happy to process that now. And then you say happy to process that now, great. And then you just go into Stripe. Literally, I'm just giving every step. Process payment through Stripe. And then after that, you just lock in onboarding session and send onboarding steps. Okay, so things they have to complete before the first session, the onboarding session. That's it. That's pretty much it. Do you have any questions about this? Do you have any questions, Jordan, about this?
Um, yeah, so, huh?
Do you have any questions about
Yeah,
this?
I just got one question.
Yeah.
I got one question. When you ask them if they're ready to pay right then and there on the spot and they say no, what do you respond with?
All right. So you go through so you go through the fees.
Mhm.
Okay.
Payment process.
So
Mhm.
what you would do is you do this. I'll just create the options. So if yes, if objection. Okay. So if it's yes, then what you do is you just process the payment on Stripe. So that's just here. If you get an objection, then go back to confirmation step. That's it. If you get an objection, just go back to the confirmation step. Go like, okay, just want to make sure that this really, oh, actually, sorry, what you do is, yeah, you go back to the confirmation step. And then what you do is you go, just want to make sure that this makes sense to you. And then you make sure, I wouldn't go through the lack of buy-in, but I would then just go through, okay, well, I would say, this would be, this is actually, what I actually do is this. Ensure, discover if it's the deposit amount or the payment plan options or both. So usually it's like, okay, it's either there's two things. If they have an objection, like on the price, they say, sorry, it's actually that I can't afford that. Then you just need to be specific. Okay, totally get that. Just want to make sure that this makes sense to you in terms of the solution. So first we're doing this, then we're doing this, then we're doing this. That'll make sense. You can see that actually that's like the solution for you. Great. So then in terms of the price, I just want to make sure, because the last thing I'd want is it to break the bank. So the thing I want to make sure is that this deposit, if we charged it by itself, would this break the bank or would it be achievable? And then they say, okay, that would break the bank. You say, all right, that's cool. Can I go through another option that would be the right kind of pathway for people that can't afford the deposit? Because I know you obviously want to get the results. And you said like if we have the right payment plan, it's probably going to be the best idea. Okay, so they'll say yes, you say great. So what we could do is we can actually settle a $500 deposit on the call, and then we can settle the rest of the deposit in 30 days. Does that work better or does that break the bank? And they'll say, oh yeah, I think that would work better. And then you say, cool, happy to process that deposit now. And then in 30 days, what
Mm.
I'll do is I'll process the final deposit, and then we can get started. And I'll have like a check-in session with you before then in about 14 days. How does it sound? They'll say, yeah,
Amazing.
cool. So then you just go the $500 deposit and you schedule the rest of the deposit for 30 days or 14 days. And then like you just schedule the payment plan. That's it. If they say the $500 deposit doesn't work, then you just go, cool. I just want to make sure that, okay, so if the $500 deposit doesn't work, then would a $100 deposit work today and the rest of the deposit in 30 days? So they say yes, you say great. If they can't even afford a $100 deposit, then either they don't have a job or they're just throwing up a smoke screen. And so like,
Oh,
if they don't have a job, you can ask them, do you have a job? Okay, do you get Uber Eats or do you get Uber or do you spend like $100 a week on something
right.
like whatever? But honestly, I don't even push up against it this hard. All I do is like if they don't have $100, I just kind of say, okay, that's cool. So how would you like to proceed? When would you like to proceed? And I just ask them. You're in
Mhm.
control. So these are your results. When would you like to proceed? and then
Mm,
they'll say when they would like to, and then I just schedule the follow-up call for them.
right.
That's it. But remember, like you can't, like, you don't want to take that pressure of like having to make people come up with the money. Like for them, it's like you got to give them all the information. That's your responsibility. Making it as irresistible as possible. Give them all the information. Give them the payment plan options. Give them everything that you can, and then let them make a decision. And whatever their decision is, you really, if it's like, you really try and help them to see clearly if it's not a yes. But in the end, like, I will spend probably like an hour and a half max with someone. If it doesn't close, I'll schedule a follow-up session, but I'll always schedule a follow-up session. Always. And I'll make sure I leave the call in good rapport. Okay. So if it's the
Yes.
deposit, then you do that. And then what happens is, if yes, you just go and process the payments. And then if no, then schedule a follow-up call to discuss more details. Cool.
Yeah.
And then in the follow-up call, all you need to do is you just
Pick up from
pick up from there. That's what you do in
confirmation.
the follow-up call. You just pick up from there.
Oh, okay.
And you just say, hey, cool, just want to make sure everything makes sense. You go through the deliverables. A lot of the time when people get the deliverables, it's like they're fine. They can like continue, and they just needed to sit with it. So this is for the time, this is for the money objection. This is also for the I think about it objection. But like, we're not going to spend too long on objections, because like, it really, if you do the first part really well, you won't get a lot of objections. You get objections when you have an audience issue. Like when you have people that don't have, like, they're broke, they're brokies, like they don't have any financial ability, you're going to get a lot of objections. But the more you
Yeah.
actually target people that have money, and you can target them based on profession, you won't get objections as much.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Okay. So you process the payments, you lock it in. Okay. So any questions? What kind of questions do you have? What part of this do you think will help your objections that you've had in the past?
Um, yeah, I mean, this chart is very clear. Um, yeah, just knowing how to navigate, if they say they can't afford it,
Okay.
and
So in terms of,
creating like a payment plan.
yeah, that's cool. So if they can't afford it, you discover if it's the deposit they can't afford specifically, or if it's the payment plan. You say, cool, like, is it the deposit
Okay.
you can't afford, or is it the payment plan? If they say it's like the deposit, say, cool, can I speak to you about alternatives for that full deposit? And then you just give them an alternative. Would a $500 partial deposit work? And then you just go from there. Yeah. But you need
Yeah.
to follow a structure. I would be willing to submit that you're getting the I don't have the money objection, not because you don't have this in place. It's more so that you don't have this in place. All of this. Okay. Because you shouldn't find out like after you've told them the price if they don't have the money. You should find out here. If there was 1,000% return on investment, do you have the financial ability to invest in yourself? If someone says no, then they say no.
Oh,
But like,
okay.
still, that's not the be all or end all. You can still say, okay, like, you can still find it out in the call. But really, you want to understand, like, okay, if you said yes to this, then would it just be about, it's just about payment plans. It's just about the right
What
thing.
if they say they don't have time?
Okay. So if they don't have the time, um, then what you say
That's
is,
come up.
I get it. So
Like your
if,
job, they're starting.
yeah, so you say, okay, I get it. So how much, what I say is like, okay, cool. So if we were to find an amount of time per week that would work with your current time constraints, would be interested in talking more.
Okay.
They can't say no. No one can say no to that. Like,
Yeah, no one was. No.
if we were to find a amount of time to dedicate to this each week that would work for you, would you be interested in hearing more? Like, you have to say yes. Like, okay. Or you could say, if you say, okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I've never had to use anything else.
Okay.
That's it. And you say, okay, and like, if we were to get, then what you can do is you say, okay, if we do that, that's great. If we were to get XYZ, would that be important enough to dedicate at least an hour or two a week? Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I mean, and then you can do this stupid thing. You can do this stupid thing, Jordan. You can say, I mean, like, we all watch Netflix for like at least a half hour a week, right? Like, come on. I mean, we all have like that time that we spend scrolling our Facebook. I mean, only absolute liars would say that they don't do those
We
things.
don't have time.
And the only people that say I don't have enough time are people that don't use the time effectively, right? Do you understand that? And maybe this is actually something that can help you to learn how to use your time in a way that works, that will go further for you, right? If we were to talk about how to make that step, would you be interested in learning how to use your time better? You got to have rapport to say that, though.
Yeah.
I just get silly, man. Like, if I get objections, I get silly. I just become
Really?
silly. Yeah, because using objections is silly.
It is.
People that use objections, they're being silly. They're just being silly. They're playing a game. They're playing a game because why? Because they've said they want a result and now they're using reasons to justify not taking action. I'm like, you're
Right.
being silly.
Yeah.
You're being silly. And that destroys the sales pressure. You say, let's be honest. Come on now. Let's be honest. Got onto this session. You knew that we would be talking about results. You knew that there would be a cost to this. So what's it really about?
Right.
Feel like the product would get you success? Great. Do you feel like I would be someone that can get success? Great. What about the price? Is it just the price? Okay, well then let's talk about that. But can we just be honest, right? Just
Yeah.
just be like that. Just get silly.
I see where you're going with it. Yeah.
Because like you can get all serious but just be silly. Like just be like, come on, don't be silly. I've said this to
Break
like
the
people.
pattern.
Yeah, just break the pattern. I say, come on, you're being a bit silly. Like, what's it really about? Like, come on, come
Straight
on,
up like that.
come on, you're being silly. What's it really about? Like, you know what the cost of this is. You know how long you've had it for. You've probably been putting it off. We all do. Like, we're all human beings, but we all need to make change, right? I mean, to
Right.
say that I want something and then when a solution comes, not take action on it, even if the person talking is being so flexible, it's just being silly. Because when's an easier situation going to come? In life, there's always things that we need to do. And like, what's really important is that we get to the situation where the problems we have either are going to become so bad that we have to deal with them, or we actually deal with them before they become crises. So, what do you want to do? Wait and let it become a crisis, or be proactive and destroy the negative symptoms that are coming off of this problem? Because if we don't, then life will just
Gold.
become a pile of shit,
Yeah.
right? And so like you want to change it or what? Like, let's be serious. Yeah. And like, okay, let's just talk about a way, a pathway we can do that. How does that sound? Because like really, man, it's like there's only objections when people don't see the path that you have given them as being viable to take. And it's either that you haven't given them that clarity, but with one of the two resources, which is time and money, they either don't understand how they can do this with the amount of money they have, or they don't understand how they can do this with the amount of time that they have. So really, it's just about making them laugh and then understanding, okay, how does the pathway work? You just got to find the pathway with them, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. So coaching them. Yeah, does it make sense? So can you see now how
Yeah.
like, okay, if they say I don't have the time or money, that how you can solve that?
Yeah.
not with the people from the past, but from the people in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So
Yeah, please share this with me.
yeah, I'll share it with the Discord channel in the announcements. You'll be able to see the recording. But yeah,
Okay.
like that's it. I really wanted to run you guys through it because, like, wow, like I know that once outreach begins, there's calls that book in. Ben's getting calls booking in. Christina's getting calls booking in. So many people are closing clients. We're getting loads of feedback on this. So what we're doing with lead generation is working. What we're doing with appointment setting is working. Now it's really just about focusing in the mastermind on like closing. Most people are really good at closing, but some people are really a bit more new to it. Some people are good at closing, but they're getting really low deposits and they're getting really long payment plans. That's like, that's not even good at closing. Being good at closing is getting pay in full amounts up front. That's when you're good at closing.
Mm.
Having payment plans is an illusion of safety. You should be getting all of your payments up front and as much as possible. So really take this note down, Jordan and Ben. Resist the urge to accept a payment plan. When someone says, if they even say yes and they're like, oh yeah, I'll get the payment plan, you should push back on that. You should ask them, why not pay in full? You should ask them, why
Mhm.
not pay in full? I mean, like our most successful clients paid in full because they're when people have, if they have the money or if they can get the money in full, those ones that have paid in full up front, they get the biggest success because they're the most committed. They're the most all in. They're all in. So for you, if you want, since you want to be really all in and you want to get these results, would this be something we could talk about paying in full so that you can also get a discount? So push back on it. So a lot of people really accept low outcomes for their life. They'll just accept sales. They'll just accept long payment plans. They'll just accept anything. But you really want to be the person that really just expects and demands and really calls from life the best, because that's going to bring the best out of you. Because if you just focus on getting sales and just getting whatever you can get, you're not going to be very motivated. You won't be very focused. You won't be very inspired. Like I don't get inspired of $200 deposits. Like you got to imagine you're going to be getting like $5,000 to $10,000 payments. What would that do for your life? And really start like taking action from that expectation, because that's then your projection. And if you're not motivated, if you're confused, if you're not getting what you want, you've got to understand it's because of what you're expecting is going to come. That's really, you got to understand that it's because of what you're expecting. It's because of your standards, because of what you're it's what you're doing with your time, what you're focusing on. All right, so really like our mindset really comes from what processes we have in place and really focus. It's about focus.
Mm.
Okay, so it's easy to become like demotivated, jaded, or overwhelmed. If anyone watching this or in the recording or anyone that is here, if you have any of these experiences, if you ever feel overwhelmed in your business, if you ever feel like you have a lack of focus, if you're ever not making money, if you ever feel like you can't understand what the future will look like, if you ever feel like down on your progress, if you ever feel like you're not hitting your goals, you got to understand that you are focusing on the problem rather than actually the solution. You're focusing on the effect, not the cause. And when you focus on the cause, you focus on symptoms. You focus on systems. You focus on the fact that there is a process around every part of your business. And it's easy to go to the effect and then say, no, it's not my responsibility. I'll push the cause outside. It's this thing or this thing. But really, we just need to understand, are there leads coming in 50 to 100 a week? If there are not, we just focus here. Okay, if they're coming in, then we focus on, are they setting as appointments? If they're not setting as
Right.
appointments, then we need to just get really good at setting. It's just a skill. It's lead gen is a skill, appointment setting is a skill, and sales, are they closing? That's a skill. So if we don't have those skills, we look at the first place in which we don't have it, and we just read and study and implement just that. And then that will convert, boom. And then that will convert, boom. And then that will convert, boom. And then literally we just scale it. Like that's how I've done this. It's just basing it off skills, not seeing it personally. Okay, because you've got to separate your identity from your offer, separate your identity from your delivery, separate your identity from your results. And you got to make sure that you're identified with your skill level and just work on the skills. Does it make sense? Okay.
Wait, can you explain further more on separating an identity from the offer?
You got to separate your identity from your business. If a garbage man thinks he is his business, he'll think he's garbage. So you got to make sure that you separate yourself from what you do. You are not your business. You're not your results. You're not your goals. You got to make sure that you understand that your business is just something that you're doing. It's just something that you do. It doesn't mean anything about, and you don't have to feel passionate, happy, or purposeful while you do your business. You just got to do it, and you just got to take action. You'll feel those things over time sometimes in the process of scaling, but you will not feel it all the time. And if you use that identification that, oh, my business is doing well, so I'm doing well, then you're going to feel
Right.
down a lot. You're going to feel
Oh,
down a lot. You should actually look at, okay, I'm doing well if I'm learning every day and I'm implementing every day. That's my metric of success. That's how I feel good. Because a lot of the time, like for me, it's not growing my expectations are not matching my reality a lot of the time because my goals are further along than what I am experiencing now. So what I need to make sure is I say, okay, I'm successful and I'm doing my personal best if I'm learning about what is blocking my process and progress and I'm implementing that stuff in my business. That's how I know I'm doing well. And that's when I can feel good about myself and I can feel grateful. Because as long as I learn and I implement, then it will work. Like it will be successful. But if I feel down, then I'll stop this and it will never work. Does it make sense, Jordan?
yeah.
Okay. So the key here is keep learning about the processes where your bottleneck is. So for you, it's that sales. Keep learning about the process and keep implementing what you learn about the process. Go off the process. You can systemize things when you literally go off the process. Okay.
Mhm.
But really, like, you should never say, oh, they weren't ready to move forward. You should say, I wasn't able to overcome their objection of putting time in the way. You shouldn't say they didn't have the money. You should say, I wasn't able to overcome their objection of how to help them get the money or find the right payment plan. Okay. Because you want to take your disempowerment out of the picture and put your choice and your ability to create free choice into every single picture. Right.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. So, did this process exist 3 months ago? No, it did not. It only exists because we wanted to hit 70% conversions, and I needed a process that can hit that. And this is the process that can hit that. I've never found another one that can hit that, and I've never found another one as effective. And I can get on these. I can get on 6 of these sessions a day. If you're hard closing and you're dealing with all the sales pressure with people, you won't be able to do 2 or 3 a day. Like if you're not following a structure, you actually your failures start to become personalhood and it negatively impacts your emotion and you start to resist sales. Like you start to resist it.
Right.
People that have this view of sales being negative, they actually resist it, they avoid it, they don't make progress or money. So they need to make sure they have a process to take their negative perception away from it. Does it make sense?
Mhm.
All right, beautiful. So yeah, like I know that Ben, you're having calls. So like, um, if you have questions about like, okay, what are the objections you're getting? Why haven't the sales calls you've had closed? If you're not closing 1 and 2, then we should be talking about what objections you're getting. So let's talk about it because like in the mastermind, we're here to support you guys in generating leads, showing you how to book them into appointments and showing you how to close them. But really like we've done our job when you're generating leads and you're booking sales calls. But if you're getting those and you're not closing, that's something that you're not doing, which you need to start asking us about, right? Because we're all adults in this learning environment and we all want to be empowered. So really we want to help you to understand how do you solve your own problems in business, because like when you finish the mastermind we want to give you this process of success and you be able to use it without us. If you want to keep working with us you can, but we don't want you to be dependent on us. We want you to be empowered business owners. Okay. So Ben, do you have any questions? I think you sent something to the chat. No camera or mic. Oh, that's all good.
It's getting late over here. I'm gonna go ahead and
Yeah, we're gonna finish now. So you don't have any questions, Jordan?
no,
All right, man. All right,
we're
guys.
good for the session.
All right, I'll send this to the Discord chat. Have a great day and have a great weekend. See you.
Good one. See
Peace
ya.
out.